After years of undead carnage and emotional turmoil, the Walking Dead universe is showing signs of reaching its narrative conclusion. The latest news that The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon will end after its fourth season has left fans wondering whether this signals the true end of the franchise or just the start of another cycle. With Daryl and Carol's journey seemingly leading toward closure and Rick and Michonne's story wrapping up in The Ones Who Live, one thing is clear. The era of legacy characters should come to an end. Since its debut in 2010, The Walking Dead has spun off into multiple shows: Fear the Walking Dead, World Beyond, Tales of the Walking Dead, Dead City, Daryl Dixon, and The Ones Who Live. While these extensions tried to build new stories, most of them failed to recapture the original's essence. Of these, only a few managed to engage viewers beyond a couple of seasons. As the franchise stands now, even its most iconic characters, Daryl, Carol, Maggie, and Negan, feel narratively exhausted. The problem with legacy fatigue. When The Walking Dead peaked, it dominated television ratings with over 14 million viewers during Season 5. Fast forward a decade, and some recent spin-offs are struggling to reach even a fraction of that audience. Dead City's latest finale barely drew 0.4 million viewers, proof that something isn't working anymore. It's not just audience numbers. The emotional and thematic weight that once defined the show has dulled. Characters are no longer evolving. They are simply moving through the motions. Plots have become bloated and dependent on introducing larger-than-life villains rather than focusing on human conflict and survival. Instead of finding new ground, these spin-offs have become vessels to prolong characters' screen time without giving them meaningful development. New stories need new faces. The answer isn't to keep resuscitating familiar characters. If the franchise wants to survive creatively, it must embrace new blood. The success of Fear the Walking Dead's early seasons came from introducing original characters with no ties to Rick's group. Unfortunately, that show lost its direction when it integrated crossover characters like Morgan, Dwight, and Sherry. What was once a unique perspective on the outbreak's early days turned into yet another side quest for aging characters from the original series. To revive itself, The Walking Dead must fully detach from its past. It should introduce an entirely new cast in a new location with new motivations. Without the baggage of history, a fresh narrative could organically explore human behavior in crisis, something the original did masterfully. There's no shortage of possibilities. Stories could take place in other regions of the world or different cultural contexts that haven't been explored before. New faces would allow the franchise to rebuild its emotional core, rekindle its suspense, and explore fresh philosophical dilemmas. Return to the beginning. Part of what made The Walking Dead so compelling was its simplicity. At its best, it wasn't about epic wars or bizarre communities with Shakespearean dialogue. It was about survival, morality, and human weakness. The early seasons thrived on small conflicts, moral ambiguity, and the fear of the unknown. Returning to the early days of the apocalypse, with entirely new characters, could reinvigorate that sense of urgency and realism. A show that opens at the moment the world falls apart again, in a setting far from Georgia, could bring back the slow-burn dread and raw emotional stakes that once defined the series. This isn't about repeating old stories. It's about using the same brutal world to tell new ones. Let the legacy rest. The original characters were unforgettable. They earned their place in television history, but dragging them out past their prime risks diminishing their legacies. It's time to give them a dignified farewell and move on. The Walking Dead franchise doesn't need to die, but it does need to evolve. The next great story is out there waiting. All it takes is the courage to start over.